No one has withstood the sort of scrutiny that Mr. Trump and his family have unjustly endured. People like seeing somebody that's not afraid to get in the face of establishment Washington, D.C. politicians. Yeah, you remember the last guy that ran on big ideas? Just think about that for a second. Ronald Reagan ran on big ideas. But what Mr. Trump has done is ingenious. Donald Trump, in one shot, is taking out not just the establishment Republicans, not just the establishment Democrats, but also the establishment media. And I also think that the American people realize that Donald Trump is not a career politician who thought that they got to pick our next GOP nominee. And in fact, it doesn't look like they're going to have that say. We're tired of politicians saying, oh, yeah, we really need to eliminate the debt, but we're not sure how. We need to secure the border, but you can't really do that. He's saying, yeah, we can. Neil, when you watch this whole rodeo happen, it's kind of hard to decide whether Donald Trump is the most entertaining or whether it's more entertaining watching people sort of squirm after they've underestimated him once again.
Could not be more excited to be here with you today because for me, this movement started about the time Barack Hussein Obama became president of the United States. Because that was when I was the wife of a senator from the state of Missouri, and I decided I couldn't hide in the background anymore. Loved being his wife, but I had to step out and I had to get in the front. Before that, I told myself, I'll just raise a little army. I have 5 children. Some of you know that. It's a handful and a blessing. And I thought, you know what? I'll just stay in the background. It's his career. He'll do it, and I'll be his support team, right? But the minute I heard that Obama was taking 20% of our economy and turning it over to socialized medicine through Obamacare, I said, And then I took a look at all of the so-called Republicans at that time, and I said, I'm not you. I don't know what I am, but I know I'm not you. And I had my own little walk-away moment, and I didn't have a label for it. I didn't have a name for it. We had Brandon Straka to establish that name, that brand, that movement. And thank God for him doing that, because that's why we all stand here today. We are just inviting people just like us to do just what we did, right? That's the coolest thing, the easiest thing ever. And I'm watching all these people. They're getting out of the theater over there. They're seeing all of you. They're getting excited. They're saying, what is it? Well, they're looking at us and they're going, wow, you know what? You look like me. Somebody in this crowd looks like me. And that's because we are America. But my walk-away story, and I'll call myself a Republican now again. I never thought I would. I didn't even like labels. But you know what? As long as this president, Donald J. Trump, calls himself a Republican, I'm a Republican. How about you? But we have defeated the establishment in so many ways. This president has had one major accomplishment every 36 hours of his presidency, and that's with zero help from the media, from the Democrats, and frankly, from most of the so-called Republicans. So y'all realize, and I don't want to take anything away from Brandon because I love what he's built. I love that you're here. I don't want to take anything away from you, but let me say this. Y'all know who the original walk-awayer is, right? Donald J. Trump walked away. He led the pack. He started the trend, right? Brandon gave it a name, and you all gave it legitimacy, and here we stand right now in the president's honor, in the best presidency, in the best moment, in the best economic times, in the best country, in the best part of history ever in the entire world, and you're here right now. Have you thought about that? You know, I just wrote a book called Mad Politics, and I kind of came back at that Woodward guy, you know, the one that keeps saying that the president's insane, even though he doesn't know the president. He has zero psychological background, and he doesn't know the president's family. Well, I know the president's family. I know the president, and I have a few postgraduate degrees that I really don't need to know that our president, as I said on Sean Hannity's show not long ago, may be the most sound-minded individual to ever occupy the Oval Office. But the haters, they hate that. They hate that. You know, the whole narrative of Trump Russia, well, that didn't work out so well. And the Stormy Daniels thing, not so good. Actually, she's paying his legal fees now. And then we had the whole Kavanaugh thing, which sort of played to our favor in a big way, right? Thank God for him. And you know, they're going to keep coming. They're going to keep coming. They tried to blame these devices on our president, the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And by the way, prayers for our friends in the synagogue shooting today in Pennsylvania. But none of it worked. And you stood out there and you defined the narrative in social media and you had his back and he knows that. And now the only thing they have left is to try to say, he's crazy. How do you fight that? You know, with all my degrees that I don't need, honestly, street smarts matters a lot more. I tell my kids this every day. All of those are, you know what? I have no idea how when someone says, you're crazy, you say, no, I'm not crazy. You just look crazier, right? So this is their next ploy. Mark my words, WalkAwayers. Their next plot is to try to say that your president is crazy. And we're going to have to stand for him because, as I said, he may perhaps be the most sound-minded individual to ever occupy the Oval Office. I really believe that. And I'll tell you the moment that I knew he was one of us. Yes, you can clap for our president. I want to share one more really quick thing because my time's already up. I always go over. I don't know. It's the talk show host in me, I guess. The moment I knew he was one of us, one of you, I'm a citizen journalist. I started in the Tea Party. I was standing at that candidates forum in Vegas. Remember that? And I knew every candidate on that stage. There were lots of them, remember? I knew every one of them except Donald Trump. I didn't know him. And I remember afterwards, I was back in the media section and in the press gaggle, and I remember going backstage afterwards and watching all these candidates parade out, right? And they all talked to the big three networks, you better believe that. And they all talked to all the big guys. But you know what? There was a whole bunch of people just like you. And I see your camera phones now. And they were standing there just like that. And they had and they wanted an interview too. And they were all gone within 15 minutes, with one exception. One person stayed for 2 solid hours. Every single citizen journalist with a cell phone got an interview with the next president of the United States that night. That ought to tell you everything you need to know about where his heart is, how dedicated he is to you, how committed he is not only to make America great again in every way, as every speaker up here has explained to you, but to keep America great. And you ought to be so happy. Take a moment just to smell the roses because you've worked for this, you've earned this, and you get to live in the greatest moment, in the greatest country, in the greatest times in the world history. That's pretty cool.